guys, welcome to Health and Performance by Gavin Hewitt. So today I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about estrogen and some ideas I see floating around. Have been around for a number of years now that are somewhat flawed. I'll sort of explain what I mean by that soon. So it's really based on a conversation I had with a young lady came in for the first time last week and was asking me about estrogen blockers and DIM and this kind of thing. And that's not an uncommon conversation for me to have with someone. The first thing I said was, well, look, tell me about this DIM. Tell me, what is it that you're taking it for? What do you think it's going to do? So she was under the impression that what DIM did, it helped to reduce your estrogen, and the reduction in estrogen levels would help you to lose weight, more specifically lose fat. Now, really the issue there is that the estrogen is not making you fat per se. Yeah. Also, when we think about using something like DIM, yeah, so DIM stands for diindolyl methane. So what the DIM is going to do, it's not really going to reduce your estrogen as such. What it's going to do is going to help some of the detoxification pathways in the liver that help to clear excess estrogen. Now, I wanted to explain to her that when we think about trying to reduce estrogen, there can be some merit in that on occasion. So if you're a female physique competitor and you're trying to reduce fat in your lower half, so in your hips, around your legs, yeah? By reducing estrogen, what is possible is that we start shifting the ratio of estrogen and testosterone around, okay? So when we think of fat distribution patterns, typically females are going to have the fat distribution pattern, which means that it concentrates around the hips and the thighs. Yep. Now that can be down to the role of estrogen. However, reducing the estrogen doesn't mean necessarily going to reduce fat, it just means you're going to reduce the fat distribution and shift it into more of a male fat distribution pattern, okay? So typically then it's going to come away from the hips and the thighs, maybe shifting more around the midsection, but we still got to lose total fat. Let's talk about the DIM and the estrogen. Now it got me thinking, I do hear this a lot. So rather than using DIM if your estrogen is high, now if you find out if your estrogen is high, you can use symptoms, but get it checked. Go to a doctor or some practitioner that can help you with that and find out what your estrogen levels are before you start trying to lower things that may just be fine, okay? The DIM is definitely going to help clear out excess estrogen. However, when we think about estrogen, we don't really want to eliminate it. There's this idea in some sort of communities online and out there in the health and performance communities that are always trying to reduce estrogen because it's toxic, because it's this, because it's that. There are a lot of benefits to having healthy estrogen levels. It helps with thyroid function, helps with liver function, and also provides a protective effect on muscle tissue, particularly, ironically, in females, okay? So in females, the estrogen helps to protect muscle tissue, which can help overall reduce the amount of fatigue and improve recovery and actually help with gaining muscle tissue, okay? So estrogen isn't this thing that we need to be demonizing, okay? Now, something that I was explaining before we jump into trying to worry about hormones and all the rest of it, let's look at some of the things that affect hormones. So I started talking to her about blood sugar levels, okay? Now, when we think about blood sugar levels, if they're consistently elevated, okay, over time, what is going to happen on a chronic level is that you're going to see consistently elevated levels of insulin. Now, why is this a factor? Insulin has an inverse relationship with sex hormone binding globulin, or we're going to call it SHBG for the sake of shortness. So, sex hormone binding globulin. Now, as it sounds, it's a protein that binds to sex hormones, okay? So if we see elevated insulin levels over a longer period of time, what we often will see is an inverse relationship, so the sex hormone binding globulin is going to come down. Now because it's coming down, there's less of it to bind on to your sex hormones, such as estrogen and also testosterone. When we think about trying to reduce estrogen then, maybe before jumping into supplements and playing around with hormones, because hormones typically are downstream, yep, we need to start looking further upstream because what we do up here is going to flow on and change what's happening down here, okay? So looking at insulin levels. So a few things that can affect insulin levels are going to be stress, nutrition, exercise, and sleep. Yep, all these things can have a profound effect. Diet, of course, is going to be the main one on insulin levels. Okay, so then we look and we go, well, what might there be that indicates a problem with insulin? Okay, so at home you can run a glucose tolerance test. Yep. So this isn't the be-on end-all by any stretch of the imagination. Yep, it's just a test you can do at home that's a nice indicator that suggests, you know what, you might want to see your GP and check this out further, okay? Or at least monitor your blood sugar levels using a glucometer and see how it looks over the course of, say, a week or so, if you think you've got some insulin or estrogen issues, okay? Now, if you are going to go to see your GP, some markers they could be looking at could be C-peptide. So C-peptide is a good marker to look at rather than insulin itself. Insulin has a very short half-life, so looking at C-peptide, which has a much longer half-life and also is produced along with insulin, can actually give you a nice sort of picture of what's going on with insulin levels over a much longer time period. It's far more accurate, I guess. We can also look at HbA1c. So when we look at HbA1c levels, this is another indicator that you may have some insulin resistance going on, okay? But ultimately, we want to maybe look at this first, check your blood sugar levels. If you think there might be an issue, consult someone who can run one of those two or both of those two tests actually for you. So let's say we've got blood sugar issues. There are a number of things we can do, which I'm going to talk about in another video, which include stress management, improving sleep, diet and exercise, of course, okay? But before you run into trying to dropping estrogen, maybe we can look at the blood sugar levels, maybe we can start regulating this a little bit better, which is going to have an on-flow effect to this, which has an on-flow effect to these, okay? So this is going to give you a much greater chance of getting your estrogen under control, if it's even an issue, in the long term, as opposed to taking some DIM, yeah, which may or may not work, and if it does, it's just going to be short term, okay? So blood sugar levels, get them under control. If you think you've got issues, test, don't guess. And thirdly, always look for the long-term solution here.